All right, I couldn't wait for this one. Our good friend Mike Hogan. Hoagie, Argos. Hey, buddy. He will be calling the game tonight on TSN Radio in Toronto. Hoagie, I got to ask you something before we go any further. They showed you on television last week. I'm not sure if you know that. The game against Montreal. And you, and you were wearing a suit. And I wondered if you had a wedding to go to after the game or a job interview or what was the deal, bro? Do you always wear a suit for games? I don't remember that.
No, it's usually a tuxedo. No, we had halftime. We did a halftime ceremony, and they were nice enough to ask me to do it. But we put Ricky Ray into the all-time Argos players list, and we've started honoring builders in the organization. Lou Heyman, Bob Obilovich, and a guy Peter Martin. We're all honored for their contributions.
Pete Martin. He was so great, man. Say hey to him for me.
Those who don't know me,
that guy was such a
dude. He did broadcasting with the Argos from 1977 for the most part until 2010. And you do the cigarette thing. Here's Pete Martin in a nutshell, for those who have never met him. We'd finish the broadcast. Let's say the Argos won 78-0, and the quarterback threw for 800 yards. Pete would lean back in the chair, light the cigarette, even though you're not allowed to light the cigarette in the Sky Dome. The Argos will never win a Grey Cup until they learn how to run the football. That's Pete Martin. He's not old school. He built the old school. Love him to death.
You just made me snort, man. There was a walkthrough the day before. Of course. Oh, listen. Oh, yeah, of course. Apparently, this is the Pete Martin interview. And by the way, he deserves it. We had a walk. You guys, the Argos, had a walkthrough the day before a game at the old Taylor Field out on that chain link fence, grass pasture. And me and Pete were leaning against the chain link fence, and Dwayne Demetrician was running around on the walkthrough in shorts, and he walks by Pete, and Pete just goes, I could cover you. Just like dripping in sarcasm or whatever. It was so funny, yeah. So anyways, Argos are favored by most sports books going into the game tonight at Saskatchewan, Hoagie. Should they be?
I think for the most part, that probably comes down to Trevor Harris more than anything else and the uncertainty of quarterback. Much like, early in the season, anybody who didn't pick the Argos to win the division, it was probably due to the quarterback. Same thing with last year with Chad Kelly. There was a lot of indecision among those who made picks, who picked us. A lot of people last year picked us for third in the division. Likewise, this year I saw a couple of those. Mostly we were behind Montreal this year, with Montreal coming off a Grey Cup win, and they've proven obviously early they deserve to be ranked number one in the East, if not the entire CFL. So, yeah, I think in Saskatchewan, basically it's a look at the quarterback and the uncertainty with Trevor out of the lineup.
Well, let's be honest. I said these aren't the 97 Argos coming in here. Right? Although Lapo really extolled the virtues of Cameron Dukes on this show yesterday. Tell us a little bit more about this guy, Cameron Dukes, man, because Argo fans are getting to know him pretty good, and they're liking what they see.
It's a great story because he came out of nowhere, right? I have never heard of Lindsey Wilson College, right? Had to look it up. Didn't know what state it was in. Didn't know where they played. It's an NAIA school. He had taken them to a national championship and basically won everything you could win in individual awards down there. And then goes to the Arena League, plays in Vegas, one of your favorite towns, and does exceptionally well. I don't know who found him. I honestly don't. I don't know if it was Magri, if it was Murph, it was Jim Barker. I don't know who first put him on the radar. Somebody did. Brought him to pinball. Next thing you know, he comes to camp. We don't know anything about him. Probably everybody had him fourth on the depth chart a year ago. He ends up becoming the backup and wins the starter's job this year and has been just dynamite. He's about the nicest kid you'd ever want to meet. He's just got that great laid-back attitude. He's from Kentucky, but he lives down in Florida on the Panhandle because he got a spot on the water. And he's basically, I don't want to call him a surfer dude, but he would not be out of place at a Jimmy Buffett concert, put it that way.
How about that?
Okay. Well, Mike Davis will take exception to the fact that you called out of nowhere because, as you, I'm sure, know, he was his coach in Las Vegas with the Nighthawks.
He may have phoned up.
So
like I don't know what the connection was, and that makes as much sense as anything. He was here during the COVID year.
Exactly. He stood on the table, from what I understand, and said, "This guy can play. Give him a shot." That was the word that I got from the personnel people. And I guess do you? It's early. Well, how many starts did I read? Is he 3-2 now as a starter, or 3-1?
Last year he was 1-1 and 2-1 this year. So I was told there would be no math on this program, but I think that's 3-2.
You and I couldn't figure this out together. Yeah, I thought he was 3-2. So this is his 6th start, which isn't. Well, here's the thing. That's not 60 starts, but it's not 1. Like, you're going up against a guy. Your first start is a big deal in this league, right?
Yeah, and some can pull it off. I mean, Cam Duke's first start last year was in Winnipeg. When the Argos had already clinched the East, it was still September, late September. Argos had clinched the East. They wanted to see what he could do under that kind of circumstance. And he went in, and they were leading the Bombers, who needed that win last year at that time of the season. They were leading after the third quarter, early in the fourth, when Dinwiddie took him out and put Brian Scott in. And Brian looked really good last week in cleanup time against Montreal. He was 5 for 5 with a touchdown. So, the shelves aren't barren here in Toronto. We have Nick Arbuckle as well. So it's not a bad quarterback room, and who knows what's going to happen with Chad after 9 games.
That's why they signed veterans. I'm a big fan of Nick Fatty Arbuckle, believe me. And, here's hoping he gets a shot somewhere down the line, but not for the right reasons, not because of injury. But, Hoagie, I respect your football knowledge greatly. So whether it's right or not, I just want your opinion on this. Finish this sentence, please. The Argos win tonight if blank.
They can shut down the run, and I don't just mean AJ. I mean keeping Shea Pedersen from, running around like he's capable of doing. Slow down the run. Longest run the Argos have given up all year is 12 yards. So, I mean, they're really good against the run. So I guess this is kind of, 2 rams at the top of a mountain butting heads with AJ Ouellette and the Argos defense. And, whoever comes up the top in that battle may win the football game. Likewise, the Roughriders have been great against the run this year. And Kadeem Carey's leading the league in rushing, even though he's only played 3 games. So I think whoever wins that running game is probably going to come out on top. Again, it all comes down to turnovers. But, I mean, just, if we take that out of the equation.
We're going to go overtime, but it's worth it. I just got to ask you about AJ Ouellette. I mean, he fits in here. I'm in Moose Jaw, and you've probably heard the story. He's got a free trailer park spot for the summer, which surprises nobody. And now that I get to know Georgia, because I've been through there multiple times and we're on the air in Atlanta, every guy looks like him there. Every guy. So he stands out up here. He doesn't stand out there. What do people need to know about AJ Ouellette?
He might be the strongest guy in the league. He is incredibly disciplined in his training regimen. He had sort of the breakfast club weight lifting group in the morning. He is as hard-nosed as it gets. He's a good teammate. Nobody here wished him ill will by going to Saskatchewan. They knew it was a business thing first and foremost. But you're right. If he was going to go to a market where he'd fit in, it would be that roll up the sleeves, blue collar kind of town. I hate saying this. He would have been a really good Ticats as well, right? I mean, with just kind of the Hamilton mentality. And I think there's a lot of that in Saskatchewan. You mentioned the trailer park. A lot of hardworking folks out there, the farmers who make the trek into Mosaic Stadium every week. There's something to that work ethic that I think really resonates with the base, and AJ's that guy.
They love him. We'll see what happens here tonight. Hoagie, thanks for this, man. Have a great call.
Thank you, and I'm off to the Minot Zoo right now.
How about that?
Oh, you were watching. Okay, thank you. The great Mike Hogan, the voice of the Argos. Hey, Minot Zoo, no charge.